Dr. Emma Winters hadn't slept in 36 hours when her quantum observatory's alarms shattered the pre-dawn silence. She grabbed her coffee mug, already reaching for the keyboard with her free hand, expecting another false positive from the deep space monitoring array. The readings made her drop her mug, hot coffee splashing across the laboratory floor. "This can't be right," she whispered, fingers flying across multiple keyboards. The quantum signatures were unlike anything she'd ever seen. Space itself was being torn apart at the edge of the solar system, just beyond Pluto's orbit. The energy readings were off the charts, suggesting a level of technology far beyond human comprehension. Through the observatory's enhanced imaging systems, she watched in awe as reality split open like a gleaming wound in space. The first ships emerged from the rift, their crystalline hulls catching the distant sunlight and fracturing it into rainbow cascades. More followed, then more, until Emma's computer couldn't keep count of the vessels pouring through the breach. Her phone buzzed, a text from her colleague Dr. Marcus Rodriguez at the Mauna Kea Observatory. "Are you seeing this?" Before she could reply, every screen in her lab flickered to life. Her phone, computer monitors, even the digital clock on the wall, all displayed the same message in stark, angular letters. "To the inhabitants of Sol 3, your resistance is futile. Your civilization has been judged and found wanting. Surrender your world to the Kraxan Dominion, or face immediate extinction. You have 6 planetary rotations to comply." Emma's hands trembled as she reached for the secure line to contact the Pentagon. As the lead researcher at the Quantum Phenomenon Research Center, she had direct access to military command in case of astronomical anomalies. This definitely qualified. "General Morrison, you need to see these readings immediately," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "The vessels, they're like nothing we've ever encountered. Their hulls appear to be some form of crystalline matrix, but they're exhibiting quantum properties that shouldn't be possible at that scale." The general's response was grim. "We're tracking over 3,000 ships, Doctor. Our most powerful weapons wouldn't scratch their paint, assuming they even have paint. We're looking at a force that could vaporize Earth's entire military might in seconds." Emma barely heard him. Something about the way the alien ships bent light around them had captured her attention. The diffraction patterns weren't random. They followed a peculiar sequence that tickled something in the back of her mind. "General, I need access to all our high-resolution visual data of these ships, and I mean everything. There's something about the way they're interacting with light." She trailed off, already lost in calculation. "Doctor, we're about to face a possible extinction event. What could possibly be important about how pretty their ships look?" Emma's fingers danced across her keyboard, pulling up comparison data from her previous research into quantum computing. "Because, General, I think I know why they're crystalline. These ships, they're not just made of crystal, they are crystal. Living crystal, encoded with what might be the most advanced computing system we've ever encountered. And if I'm right..." She paused, double-checking her preliminary calculations. The implications were staggering. "If I'm right, General, that's not just their armor. It's their brain, their weapons, their faster-than-light drive. Everything. And any system that integrated has to have vulnerabilities. We just have to find them." The general was silent for a long moment. "You have 48 hours, Doctor. Find me something we can use, or it won't matter anyway. Morrison out." Emma stared at the quantum observatory readings, watching the crystalline fleet advance inexorably toward Earth. Somewhere in the complex dance of light and crystal, there had to be an answer. Humanity's survival might depend on her finding it. She grabbed a fresh cup of coffee and pulled up her research on quantum resonance patterns. The Kraxan had arrived expecting an easy conquest, but they were about to learn that humanity didn't surrender easily. And if her theory was correct, their greatest strength might just prove to be their greatest weakness. The underground laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains hummed with nervous energy. Dr. Emma Winters hadn't left the facility in 3 days, her dedication fueled by a combination of black coffee and the terrifying knowledge that humanity's clock was ticking. Holographic displays surrounded her workstation, each showing different angles of the Kraxan vessels as they methodically destroyed the human outposts on Mars. "They're not even trying to capture our bases," Lieutenant Sarah Hayes observed, watching another research station disappear in a flash of light. "They're just eliminating everything in their path." Emma nodded absently, her attention fixed on the spectral analysis of the destruction. "Look at the energy signature when they fire their weapons," she said, pointing to a cascading pattern of light. "The beam doesn't originate from a specific point on their ships. The entire crystalline structure lights up first, then focuses the energy. It's like..." She paused, remembering an experiment from her graduate studies. "Lieutenant, pull up the files from Project Looking Glass, the quantum resonance tests from last year." As the data appeared beside the alien ship readings, Emma's hands began to shake. "I knew it looked familiar. Their entire ship design is based on principles we barely started exploring. They're using the crystalline structure as a single massive quantum computer, but at a scale we thought impossible." The lieutenant frowned at the complex diagrams. "How does that help us? They're still going to reach Earth in less than 4 days." Emma's fingers flew across the holographic interface, combining datasets. "Because any crystal, no matter how perfect, has a resonance frequency. Hit the right note, and a wine glass shatters. These ships are basically giant, living crystals. If we can find their resonance pattern..." Dr. Winters, a young technician, burst into the lab, his face pale. "The Kraxan just obliterated Phobos. The whole moon, just gone." Emma pulled up the sensor readings from the destruction. The crystalline ships had formed a perfect geometric pattern before firing, their hulls pulsing with internal light. The moon hadn't just been destroyed, it had been systematically disassembled at the molecular level. "This is it," Emma whispered, watching the recording frame by frame. "Their ships don't just share a design. They're networked. They're all part of one giant crystalline consciousness. That's why they can coordinate so perfectly." She turned to Lieutenant Hayes. "Get me General Morrison." Now, the general's hologram appeared moments later, his expression grim. "Please tell me you have something, Doctor. The President is considering their surrender demands. The Kraxan ships aren't just vessels, sir. They're nodes in a vast neural network. When they destroyed Phobos, they had to synchronize their crystalline matrices to channel that much power. That synchronization makes them vulnerable." "Vulnerable how?" Morrison leaned forward. "Every crystal has a breaking point. Hit the right frequency, and the whole structure fails. These ships are connected. If we can disrupt one with the correct resonance pattern, we might be able to create a cascade effect through their entire fleet." The general's hologram flickered. "That's a big might, Doctor. And how exactly do you plan to find this frequency?" Emma projected her calculations. "We'd need to repurpose every quantum computer on Earth, network them together. And we'd need to get close enough to one of their ships to test frequencies without them realizing what we're doing. They just destroyed a moon, Doctor. Getting close isn't an option. We don't need to." Emma highlighted a section of data. "Their communication signals use the same crystalline principles. If we can analyze enough of their transmissions, we can work backward to find their resonance frequency." Morrison was silent for a long moment. "You have 24 hours to prove this concept. If you can show me evidence this might work, I'll take it to the President. If not..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. After the general's hologram faded, Lieutenant Hayes touched Emma's shoulder. "Do you really think this will work?" Emma stared at the recordings of Phobos' destruction, watching the perfect coordination of the crystalline fleet. "It has to. Because if it doesn't, humanity won't survive long enough to try anything else." She pulled up a new set of calculations, her determination hardening like steel. The Kraxan had never faced a species that could understand their technology, let alone turn it against them. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't firepower. It was the ability to adapt and overcome. The abandoned subway tunnel beneath New York City had transformed into something straight out of a cyberpunk novel. Hundreds of servers lined the walls, their cooling fans creating a constant whisper that echoed through the underground chamber. Dr. Emma Winters stepped carefully over thick bundles of fiber optic cables, making her way to the central command station, where Marcus Rodriguez was coordinating with hackers across the globe. "We've got confirmation from the Moscow bunker," Marcus said, not looking up from his screens. "They've successfully modified their quantum research facility to interface with our network. That brings us to 60% of the world's quantum computing power." Emma checked the progress bar on her tablet. "It's not enough. The calculations to find the Kraxen's resonance frequency require more processing power than humanity has ever networked together. Then we'll find more." Lieutenant Hayes emerged from a side tunnel, followed by a group of people in civilian clothes. "Dr. Winters, meet the Grey Hat Coalition. They've been running private quantum computing servers for cryptocurrency mining. They're willing to join the network." A young woman with electric blue hair stepped forward. "Maya Chen, network architect. We've got about 300 quantum nodes hidden across Asia and Europe. They're not military grade, but they're stable and ready to integrate." Emma's eyes widened. The underground cryptocurrency community had better resources than most governments. "How quickly can you bring them online?" 6 hours, Maya replied. "We designed them to be mobile in case of government crackdowns. Never thought we'd be using them to save the world." Above their heads, the subway tunnel trembled. Another Kraxen ship had passed over the city, conducting what they called a preliminary survey. Everyone knew it was really target acquisition. "They're getting bolder," Marcus muttered. "The diplomatic talks must not be going well." Emma pulled up the latest sensor data on the main screen. The Kraxen fleet had spread out in a complex geometric pattern around Earth's orbit, their crystalline hulls creating a deadly beautiful lattice in space. "They're not worried about our diplomatic response. This formation, they're preparing for planetary bombardment." Lieutenant Hayes studied the pattern. "But they gave us 6 days to surrender. We still have 48 hours. They lied." Emma highlighted energy buildups within the fleet. "These readings suggest they'll be ready to strike in less than 18 hours. We need to move faster." Maya was already typing commands into her system. "I can push the integration timeline to 4 hours, but we'll be running hot. Some nodes might burn out." "Better than all of humanity burning out," Marcus said grimly. "What else do you need, Emma?" She projected a holographic model of Earth's satellite network. "The Kraxen are monitoring all standard communication frequencies. We need to create a shadow network, something they won't recognize as a threat." "Lieutenant, how many civilian communication satellites can we quietly repurpose?" "Legally? None. Practically, all of them." Hayes smiled. "The military has backdoor access we never advertise. Give me 2 hours." Emma turned to Maya. "Can your people modify the satellite's transmission protocols without the Kraxen detecting the changes?" "Please," Maya scoffed. "Hiding code changes from alien invaders is easier than hiding them from government regulators. We'll make it look like routine maintenance updates." Another tremor shook the tunnel, stronger this time. Dust filtered down from the ceiling as screens flickered momentarily. "They're increasing their sensor suites," Marcus warned. "Eventually they'll detect the power signatures from our network." Emma watched the progress bars crawl across her screen. The quantum computers were linking up, forming the largest distributed computing network in human history. Hidden in basements, bunkers, and abandoned subway tunnels, humanity was silently preparing a counterstrike that the Kraxen would never see coming. "Let them scan," she said, determination hardening her voice. "By the time they realize what we're building, it'll be too late. Their crystalline technology makes them incredibly powerful, but it also makes them predictable. They think in straight lines, perfect geometries. They'll never expect us to turn their own communication network into a weapon." Lieutenant Hayes raised an eyebrow. Can we really do that? Emma smiled grimly. We're about to find out. Humanity's best minds are working together for the first time in history, building something that's never been attempted. Even if we fail, we'll show the galaxy that humans don't go quietly into extinction. Maya cracked her knuckles and grinned. Well then, let's give these crystal captains a lesson in human ingenuity. My team is ready when you are. Admiral James Cooper stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance, Earth's most advanced warship, watching the holographic display as the combined fleet of human vessels assembled in low Earth orbit. 200 ships. Everything humanity could muster. Against the vast crystalline armada of the Kraxen, they looked like rowboats challenging an ocean. All ships report ready, Admiral. Commander Rachel Martinez announced, her voice steady despite the tension. The Chinese and Russian fleets have taken their positions. European Union ships are moving into formation now. Cooper nodded, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical displays. And our friends underground. Dr. Winters confirms the network is ready. They're just waiting for our signal. The Admiral touched the worn silver compass he always carried, a reminder of humanity's long history of navigation and survival. Open a channel to all Earth forces. As the communication line activated, Cooper took a deep breath. This is Admiral Cooper to all ships. What we do today will be remembered as long as humanity exists, whether that's for another 1,000 years or just the next few hours. The Kraxen expect us to surrender. Instead, we're going to show them something they've never seen before, humanity fighting as one. He paused, watching the massive crystalline ships of the Kraxen fleet descend into high orbit. Their formation was mathematically perfect, each vessel positioned with unfailing precision. Beautiful, deadly, and completely predictable. Battle Plan Odysseus is now in effect. May God have mercy on our souls, because the Kraxen won't. Cooper out. The human fleet began to move, breaking into seemingly chaotic groups. To the Kraxen sensors, it would appear as panicked disorganization, precisely what they expected from a primitive species facing annihilation. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Emma Winters watched the space battle unfold on multiple holographic displays. Maya Chen's fingers flew across her keyboard, coordinating with hackers worldwide. Lieutenant Hayes monitored the quantum network's power distribution, while Marcus Rodriguez tracked the Kraxen's energy signatures. They're taking the bait, Maya reported, grinning. Their ships are adjusting formation to counter our disorganized attack. Exactly as predicted. Emma nodded tensely. Admiral Cooper's fleet needs to hold their attention for just 3 more minutes. Lieutenant, status of the satellite network. 98% converted. Every communications satellite, cell phone tower, and radio telescope on Earth has been modified to broadcast on the frequency you calculated. The space battle above looked hopelessly one-sided. Human ships darted between the massive crystalline vessels, their weapons barely scratching the alien hulls. The Kraxen weren't even bothering to destroy them yet, confident in their superiority. They're laughing at us, Marcus said quietly, watching the energy readings. Their communications are filled with jokes about our primitive tactics. Emma's hands tightened into fists. Let them laugh. Maya, initiate broadcast sequence. Broadcasting in 3, 2, 1. Across the Earth, millions of devices activated simultaneously. Every cell phone, radio tower, and satellite began transmitting the exact same frequency, a quantum resonance pattern calculated by the largest computing network ever created. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Kraxen ships continued their implacable advance, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the sunlight. Then, almost imperceptibly, one of the smaller vessels began to vibrate. Energy fluctuation detected, Marcus shouted. Their quantum matrix is destabilizing. Emma leaned forward, her heart pounding. Admiral Cooper, Phase 2 is active. Get our ships clear of the resonance field. In space, the human fleet executed a maneuver that would have been impossible just months ago. a perfectly coordinated withdrawal that looked like a panicked retreat. The Kraxan ships moved to pursue, not realizing they were being drawn into optimal position for the resonance wave. Second ship showing destabilization, Maya reported. Third, fourth, it's spreading through their formation. The first Kraxan vessel's crystalline hull began to fracture, rainbow-colored cracks spreading across its surface like lightning. The ship's own energy weapons, trapped in the degrading crystal matrix, began to feed back into its systems. "This is Admiral Cooper to all Earth forces," the commander's voice rang through the bunker. "The enemy is about to discover what happens when they underestimate humanity's creativity. All ships, prepare for Phase 3. Let's show these crystal captains how humans fight when backed into a corner." The initial triumph of humanity's counterattack faded quickly as the Kraxan fleet adapted. The damaged ship's crystalline matrices reformed, sealing the cracks caused by the resonance attack. Dr. Emma Winters watched in growing horror as the alien vessels began shifting their molecular structure, changing their resonance patterns to resist Earth's carefully calculated frequency. "They're learning," Maya Chen growled, her fingers dancing across multiple keyboards in the underground command center. "Every ship we damage is broadcasting data to the others. They're rewriting their own crystalline structure in real time." Lieutenant Hayes pointed to a tactical display showing the space battle above. "Admiral Cooper's fleet can't maintain this position much longer. The Kraxan are consolidating their formation." Emma studied the energy readings from the alien ships, her mind racing. Something about the way they were adapting tickled at her consciousness, a pattern just beyond her grasp. Marcus showed me the quantum signature of their communications during the adaptation process. The data appeared on her screen, a complex web of crystalline frequencies shifting and flowing between the alien vessels. Emma's eyes widened as understanding struck. "They're not just learning," she whispered. "They're sharing consciousness. The entire fleet is a single distributed intelligence, like a crystal computer network." "But that means," she spun to face Maya, "how many different resonance frequencies have we tried?" 17 so far. Each one works briefly before they adapt. "Because we're thinking too small." Emma's hands flew across her interface, pulling up data from their previous attacks. "We're trying to find the perfect frequency to shatter their ships, like finding the right note to break a wine glass. But their fleet isn't a collection of glasses. It's a symphony." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" "In music, a chord is multiple notes played together. What if instead of one perfect frequency, we need a perfect combination? A resonance chord that would affect their entire network simultaneously." Lieutenant Hayes leaned forward. "Can we generate something like that?" "Not with our current setup." Emma projected a new set of calculations. "We'd need to coordinate every transmission device on Earth to broadcast different frequencies simultaneously, creating a harmonic pattern that matches their quantum network structure. The power requirements would be massive," Maya warned. "We'd burn out half our equipment." Another explosion rocked the bunker as a Kraxan energy beam struck somewhere above ground. Emergency lights flickered as dust rained from the ceiling. "Better than burning up the whole planet," Marcus said grimly. "What do you need, Emma?" She took a deep breath. "Full access to every power grid on Earth. We need to channel everything we have into one synchronized broadcast. And," she hesitated, "we need the Kraxan to link their ships even more closely together." "You want to make them stronger?" Lieutenant Hayes asked incredulously. "I want to make them overconfident. Their shared consciousness is tied to their crystalline structure. The more they connect, the more vulnerable they'll be to a perfectly tuned harmonic attack." Maya's eyes lit up with understanding, like getting all the wine glasses to resonate together. "If we hit the right combination of frequencies, the entire fleet could shatter at once," Emma finished. "But we'll only get one chance. Once they realize what we're trying, they'll completely reorganize their molecular structure." Lieutenant Hayes was already moving toward the communication station. "I'll inform Admiral Cooper. His fleet can provoke them into forming a tighter formation." "Maya, I need you and your hackers to rewrite the broadcast protocols for every transmitter on Earth. Each one needs to hit a specific frequency at the exact same microsecond." On it, the hacker replied, her fingers blurring across the keyboard. "What about power?" Emma turned to Marcus. "Contact every major power station on the planet. Tell them to prepare for a synchronized surge unlike anything they've ever attempted. We're going to channel the entire electrical output of human civilization into one harmonized blast." The bunker shook again as another Kraxan beam struck nearby, more violent than before. Through the surveillance feeds, Emma could see their crystalline ships drawing closer together, forming an ever more perfect geometric pattern as they prepared for what they thought would be their final assault. "They think they're invincible," she said softly, watching the deadly beauty of their formation. "Because they've never faced an enemy who could understand their technology, let alone turn it against them. Humanity is about to teach the Kraxan a lesson about the danger of underestimating the supposedly primitive species." Maya looked up from her work, her expression fierce. "Then let's show them how humans compose a symphony of destruction." The world had never seen anything like it. In power stations from Shanghai to Seattle, engineers worked frantically to synchronize their electrical grids. Buddhist monks in Tibet cleared their monasteries of electronic equipment that might interfere with the resonance frequencies. Deep in the Amazon, indigenous tribes guided technicians to optimal locations for portable quantum transmitters. Dr. Emma Winters stood before a wall of screens in the underground command center, watching humanity's greatest cooperation unfold. Each screen showed a different aspect of the global effort: power grid synchronization, satellite realignment, and the continuous stream of data from civilian computers joining the quantum network. Report from the European Power Coalition, Lieutenant Hayes announced. They've successfully linked their grid with North Africa's solar array network. Asia's quantum corridor is now operating at 97% efficiency. Maya Chen looked up from her station, dark circles under her eyes betraying her exhaustion. South American computing nodes are fully integrated. The distributed processing network now spans every continent. Even Antarctica's research stations are contributing. A new alert flashed across the main screen. Emma's heart sank as she read the data. The Kraxan are accelerating their attack timeline. They've detected our power surges. "How long do we have?" Marcus Rodriguez asked, not looking up from his calculations. 20 minutes, maybe less." Emma pulled up the latest orbital scans. The crystalline fleet had arranged itself into a perfect geodesic sphere around Earth, their ships linked by streams of quantum energy. "They think we're desperately gathering power for some primitive energy weapon." Little do they know, Maya grinned, her fingers flying across her keyboard. Final harmonic frequency calculations are complete. Each transmitter has its assigned note in our planetary symphony. Lieutenant Hayes studied the tactical display. Admiral Cooper reports the fleet is in position. They're ready to provoke the Kraxan into their tightest formation yet. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Billions of lives depended on this working. Initialize the final power synchronization. Maya, begin the broadcast countdown. Across the globe, power stations ramped up their output. Solar farms in the Sahara redirected every photon. Hydroelectric dams in China spun up to maximum capacity, and nuclear plants across Europe channeled their energy into the greatest coordinated surge in human history. In space, Admiral Cooper's fleet began their final gambit. The human ships launched what appeared to be a desperate, suicidal charge at the Kraxan sphere. The crystalline vessels responded exactly as predicted, drawing even closer together, their shared consciousness preparing to swat away these irritating primitives once and for all. "Power synchronization at 80%, Marcus reported. 90, 95. The bunker's lights flickered as every spare watt of electricity was diverted to the transmission network. In cities worldwide, buildings went dark as power was rerouted. The Kraxan ships glowed brighter, charging their weapons for what they believed would be the final blow against humanity. Admiral Cooper reports the Kraxan fleet has achieved optimal density. Lieutenant Hayes said, Their ships are networked more closely than we've ever seen. Emma watched the quantum energy readings spike. The alien fleet had become one vast crystalline organism, their consciousness merged into a single overwhelming force. In their arrogance, they had made themselves more vulnerable than ever. "Broadcast network ready," Maya announced. "Every transmitter on Earth is synchronized. We're about to create the largest harmonic resonance wave in history." Emma looked at her team, the soldier, the hacker, the scientist, each representing a different facet of humanity's strength. Around the world, billions held their breath, united in this one moment of defiance against extinction. Humanity has always survived by adapting, by taking our enemy's strength and turning it against them, Emma said softly. The Kraxan thought their crystalline technology made them invincible. Instead, it's going to be their downfall. She squared her shoulders and gave the order that would echo through history. "Begin the broadcast. Let's show these aliens what happens when Earth sings together." The first note of humanity's harmonic assault was almost beautiful, a pure, crystalline tone that rippled through space. Dr. Emma Winters watched the energy readings spike as every transmitter on Earth joined the chorus, each adding its own precise frequency to the quantum resonance wave. "First harmonic layer engage," Maya Chen announced, her hands dancing across multiple interfaces. "Power grid holding at maximum output. Beginning second frequency phase." In orbit, the Kraxan fleet's perfect geometric formation gleamed like a diamond sphere around the Earth. Their crystalline hulls pulsed with gathered energy, preparing to deliver their final assault. They detected the human broadcast, but dismissed it as irrelevant, until the first microscopic fracture appeared in one of their smallest ships. "Energy fluctuation detected in the outer defense ring," Marcus Rodriguez reported, his voice tense with excitement. "Their quantum matrix is responding to the harmonic pattern." Lieutenant Hayes monitored the tactical display as Admiral Cooper's fleet executed a precise retreat, clearing the broadcast zone. "The Kraxan are adjusting their formation to compensate. Just as you predicted, Emma. Add the third harmonic layer," Emma ordered, her eyes fixed on the quantum resonance readings. "Maya, begin the frequency cascade." The underground bunker hummed with power as the broadcast intensified. Above ground, every electronic device on Earth, from cell phones to satellite dishes, contributed its voice to the devastating symphony. The Kraxan ships began to vibrate visibly, their crystalline structures struggling to adapt to the multiple harmonizing frequencies. "They're trying to desynchronize their network," Marcus shouted over the rising whine of overloading equipment, breaking their shared consciousness to protect individual ships. "Too late," Emma whispered, watching the cascade effect spread through the alien fleet. "Their crystals are already synchronized. They can't separate without shattering themselves." The first major break appeared in one of the larger Kraxan vessels, a jagged crack that split its pristine hull like lightning through glass. The ship's own energy weapons, trapped in the degrading crystal matrix, began to feed back into its systems. "Final harmonic phase initiating," Maya announced, her fingers flying across her keyboard. Every transmitter on Earth broadcasting at maximum power. Now, the effect was devastating. The carefully calculated frequencies merged into a quantum resonance tsunami that swept through the Kraxan fleet. Ship after ship began to fracture, their perfect crystalline structures unable to withstand a harmonized assault. The aliens' shared consciousness, which had made them so powerful, now transmitted the destructive resonance through their entire network. "Outer defense ring is breaking up," Lieutenant Hayes reported, struggling to keep her voice professional, as she watched humanity's impossible victory unfold. "Their formation is collapsing." The largest Kraxan ships, initially the most resistant, proved to be the most spectacular when they finally cracked. Their massive crystal hulls shattered into billion-piece kaleidoscopes, refracting sunlight in a display that would be remembered for generations. "Power grid reaching critical levels," Marcus warned as warning lights flashed across his console. "We're burning out transmitters across the globe." Emma gripped her console. knuckles white. Keep broadcasting. We have to maintain the harmonic pattern until their entire network fails. The bunker's lights flickered and died as the last of Earth's power was channeled into the broadcast. In the darkness, illuminated only by emergency screens, humanity's defenders watched their greatest gamble pay off. One by one, the mighty ships of the Kraxan fleet broke apart. Their weaponized crystal technology, which had conquered 1,000 worlds, proved helpless against the precisely tuned frequencies of Earth's unified broadcast. The aliens' final transmission, caught by Maya's monitoring systems, held something never before detected in Kraxan communications: fear. Admiral Cooper reports the enemy fleet is gone, Lieutenant Hayes announced, awe in her voice. 98% of Kraxan ships confirmed destroyed. The remaining 2% are retreating at faster than light speeds. Maya slumped in her chair, exhausted but grinning. Not bad for a bunch of primitives. Emma watched the tactical display as the last fragments of the crystalline fleet drifted in orbit, creating an artificial ring of glittering debris around Earth. We didn't just defeat them, she said softly. We proved that understanding your enemy's technology is more powerful than simply having it. The Kraxan never imagined that their greatest strength could become their greatest weakness. Marcus looked up from his readings. Think they'll come back? No, Emma smiled. I think they just learned that some primitive species are better left alone. 3 months after humanity's victory over the Kraxan fleet, Dr. Emma Winters stood at the United Nations podium in New York, addressing representatives from every nation on Earth. Through the rebuilt glass dome of the General Assembly, the new crystalline ring around Earth sparkled in the morning sun, a glittering memorial to humanity's finest hour. The Kraxan's defeat taught us more than just our capacity for victory, Emma said, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. It showed us what humanity can achieve when we put aside our differences and work together. The technology we developed to survive has opened doors we never imagined possible. She gestured to the holographic display behind her, showing the first successful test of Earth's new quantum communication network, built using recovered Kraxan crystal technology. Maya Chen, now heading the Global Communications Initiative, had helped adapt the alien tech to human purposes. We've received transmissions from 17 different alien civilizations in the past week alone, Emma continued. All of them former victims of the Kraxan Empire. They're not looking to us as conquerors or saviors, but as teachers. They want to learn how a supposedly primitive species managed to turn the most advanced technology in the galaxy against itself. Lieutenant Hayes, recently promoted to colonel, sat in the front row beside Admiral Cooper. The combined Earth fleet had doubled in size, incorporating reverse-engineered crystal tech into new hybrid vessels. But their primary mission wasn't warfare, it was exploration and diplomacy. The Kraxan's database, recovered from their shattered ships, contained star maps of thousands of inhabited worlds, Emma explained. Worlds that are now reaching out to us, eager to establish peaceful contact. Humanity's victory hasn't just ensured our survival, it's given us a place among the stars. Marcus Rodriguez, leading the new Quantum Research Division, pulled up data showing the latest breakthroughs. The harmonic resonance technology developed to defeat the Kraxan had applications in everything from medicine to space travel. Earth's scientists had learned to adapt crystalline computing in ways the Kraxan never imagined. We've discovered that the Kraxan's greatest weakness wasn't their technology, Emma said, her voice softening. It was their inability to imagine that a younger species could understand that technology better than they did. Their crystal ships made them powerful, but their arrogance made them vulnerable. Humanity survived because we never stopped learning, never stopped adapting. She touched a control panel, and the ceiling display shifted to show Earth's new orbital facilities. Crystal fabrication plants worked alongside traditional space stations, creating a hybrid technology unique to humanity. The debris field from the Kraxan fleet had provided enough raw materials to fuel Earth's advancement for decades. The galaxy is watching us now, Emma concluded, not because we defeated an undefeatable enemy, but because of how we've handled that victory. We haven't used our new knowledge to build weapons of conquest. Instead, we're reaching out to other civilizations, sharing what we've learned, creating connections that the Kraxan sought to destroy." The assembly erupted in applause. As Emma stepped down from the podium, Maya met her with a tablet showing the latest transmission intercepts. The remaining Kraxan ships had fled to the far side of the galaxy, spreading word of the primitive species that had shattered their invincible fleet. "They're telling everyone to stay away from Earth," Maya grinned, "calling us dangerously unpredictable." Emma laughed. "Good. Let them spread that story. Maybe it'll make other would-be conquerors think twice." Colonel Hayes joined them, looking up at the crystalline ring that now encircled their world. "You know what the best part is? Every time they tell the story of their defeat, they have to admit they were outsmarted by a bunch of primitives who turned their own technology against them." In the years that followed, humanity continued to advance. The crystal ring around Earth became a symbol not of victory in war, but of humanity's ability to transform and adapt. Ships bearing the United Earth banner ventured into deep space, carrying ambassadors and scientists rather than warriors. The galaxy learned what the Kraxan had discovered too late, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or technology, but in their ability to understand, adapt, and work together in the face of impossible odds. The species that had been dismissed as primitives had become teachers to the stars, proving that true advancement comes not from the technology you possess, but from how well you understand it.